calm energy space. I almost feel like I want to whisper when I'm in here. You know? It's like this, some sort of a Zen library.
Good.
Oh yeah!
It's amazing to be here with Roushanna Gray, Veld and Sea. We're in the deep, deep south, right near Cape Point Nature Reserve. We nestled in nature. It doesn't get any more natural than this. A beautiful small holding where yourself and your family live. Lovely to be able to come and chat to you.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, and Roushanna has been what we call, for want of a better word, foraging and creating wonderful food from its source, nature. Everything ethically and organically sourced locally from the beaches and the ocean here. And even here on the farm, everything is homegrown. So tell us, Veld and Sea, how long has it been going?
Sure, Veld and Sea.
Veld and Sea is vir die Afrikaans mense.
Exactly.
Ek is tweetalig vir my Afrikaans gemeente.
Something for everyone.
Something for everyone. And then for us English folk, it's Veld and Sea.
Yeah, I started teaching about wild food in 2013
Okay.
after having lived it
Yes.
for quite a while. Very much a part of mine and my family's lifestyle. And then I guess it was a hobby that got out of control in a wildly delicious way.
Yes.
And Veld and Sea officially started in 2017.
Fantastic. And that meant, hey, let me pass on my knowledge. I think at a time when, there was a lot of focus on, eating healthier and eating, there's a lot of the vegan movement, not that Roushanna is necessarily vegan, but there was a focus at that time, on eating healthier foods.
To be honest, it was difficult at the beginning.
What was your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge was not a lot of people understood what I was doing. Why are you eating those weeds, whether it was from the land or the sea? But it's lovely to see that the questions have changed now from why to what and how. So it's more like, what seaweeds can I be eating? How can I prepare them? And so there's this, it's beautiful to see this shift and change. And yeah, this movement towards living in nature, in harmony with nature, and really wanting to know where your food comes from and the source it's from.
And you've been a part of that change. I think you've been a part of that, as you say, that shift in paradigm, essentially, on people's perception of, because, prior to you, I'd never thought of going down to the ocean and snacking on whatever I could find between the rocks. The only thing we were interested in were the things we'd been taught about, which was generally crayfish or prawns or, mussels off the rocks. Yeah. And then we'd leave all the good stuff, basically, is what you're saying. Okay, so 2016, 17, you really started to introduce these workshops to people, teaching them what to forage, how to forage, where to forage. Yes. And from there, it's just evolved.
It has, yeah.
Tell us how.
Yeah, so in the beginning, it was very, very part-time. We just do a couple of workshops a month, and now it is a full-time job, which is beautiful. Not that I can really call this work. No. When you love something so much and you're so passionate about it. Yeah. But yeah, we offer public workshops and experiences, as well as private experiences. A lot of tour groups come through here.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
you're on the right route.
That's true.
Yeah, it's right time and right place, hey? Yeah. Heading through to Cape Point, which is just a stone's throw away from us. Yeah. So in terms of the logistics and how would you go about hosting a group? How big are the groups, firstly, that you host at the moment?
For our public groups, they're on average about 25 people.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we don't want to have them too big because then it's not sustainable to have everybody in the rock pools
Yes.
or on the mountains. And private groups, we host anything from one person up to 120 people here at the Veld and Sea headquarters. Yeah.
That's amazing. So that's quite a big group if you wanted to do private function, hey?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got both felt and sea. So the felt, you go up into the mountain and you forage and you pick what?
Well, there's a season for it as well. Okay. So that only happens in winter time. That's when, in Cape Town anyway, we have our rainfall time. Okay. And that's when the flavor is all over the land. Right now, in summertime, if you go up into the mountainside, it's very dry, very dusty. There's no flavor. So in wintertime, we will look at things like aromatic fynbos, that's edible, edible weeds, indigenous veg, all kinds of interesting.
That's so cool, things. Eh? Yeah. And that's just through years and years of experience that you've acquired living here, getting to know your little piece of heaven, basically. Yeah. That's cool.
And also encouraging planting of these indigenous plant species into our own gardens, because that's the most sustainable way of using them.
I.e. spekboom.
Well done. Full of vitamin C.
I've got spekboom in my plant garden.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice to snack. My kids snack on it.
Yeah.
It's like eating one of those sour sweets, you know? Yes. It's really nice. Okay. And then the seaside, obviously self-explanatory. We head down to the ocean and everyone heads out onto the rocks.
Yes. So it's a really interactive and embodied experience. I find that that's one of the best ways to learn something, is to go into a place that feels nurturing and sparks your curiosity, and to play.
Yeah.
And in that way, anything is possible. It's fun to learn, and it's even more fun if you can eat your lesson.
Yes. No homework.
No homework, just eat it.
Just eat your homework.
We'll send you the notes all day.
Yeah, the homework is in your head and in a PDF.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So all the links will be down below. If you want to find out what Veld and Sea is all about, then check it out in the links below. And if you ever come to Cape Town and you want to taste a bit of like proper nature, this is where you're going to sign up. Okay, and so how, from a conservation perspective, obviously it's very low impact, but how do you feel your contribution to what you're doing here, if any, is having from that perspective?
Well, I'd like to think it's a shift in perspective and creating awareness of how valuable and special our natural environment is. And what we teach here at Veld and Sea is obviously foraging and what you can eat, but it's also about understanding how the oceans work with the coastal foraging, for instance, how delicate the ecosystem is. Okay. The more you learn about something, the more your sense of respect and value for it grows, and you want to then protect it. So, yeah, that's what we hope. That's what we're hoping for.
Education, essentially. Yeah. And I think anyone that comes here that hasn't snacked on a piece of kelp whilst walking on the rocks is going to get educated in some way or other. We're going to be cooking some kelp lasagna, and apparently it's one of the easiest things to do, really.
It is.
Hey?
Did you know kelp? You can eat it as a pasta substitute.
No. There you go.
You're going to taste it now.
There's one little nugget from Roushanna. She's not going to give away any of her other secrets because you've got to come and experience it for yourself. Yeah. So I think that's important. Urchins. I mean, can we eat our urchins? Because I, as a fan of cuisine and watching all these cooking shows around the world, there's the delicacy of the urchin, and we see so many urchins. Also, as a surfer, when I go to St. Francis and stand on them and sit picking them out of my foot, I'd like to get one over on them and eat them. So I've also been told that not all of our urchins are edible.
Yeah, not all of our urchins are edible. We have about 56 different species of sea urchins in South Africa.
Right. Which
is quite amazing. The most accessible ones are the ones which you've probably stood on.
the very dark black ones.
Well, here in Cape Town we get they're called little Cape sea urchins, and they live in the intertidal zone.
Okay.
And if you see a lot of them, an overabundance shows an imbalance in the ecosystem, which is quite interesting. And I'm not sure if you've heard about the purple sea urchins in the Californian coastline and how it's decimated the kelp forests there.
No.
It's quite amazing.
Wow.
But
So we're digging into something here, but like how do the urchins impact the kelp?
they'll eat them.
They eat kelp.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good. So they eat the kelp, okay. And so are you saying the ones that we see in our rock pools, these little pink ones, they're edible?
Yes. So they come in all different colors, the little Cape sea urchins. Yes. Purple and orange. And if you have a mollusk license, which is a good point to bring up.
Yes, one would have to have a license before it touches any of our coastal life.
Which is really easy to get, actually.
Post office?
Just go to any post office. Yes. 96 Rand, tick box number 9. And there's a whole lot of things that you're allowed on that license, including mussels and sea urchins and seaweeds. Fantastic. Yeah.
And so which are the ones that we can't eat? Like the most common looking ones?
Some of them have poisonous spines.
Right.
And those are the ones you shouldn't be handling.
Okay, so how would we know that?
You'll have to do some research.
Okay.
A really good book to get is The Two Oceans. Yes. It is a wonderful guide on all marine life around the whole of South Africa. Okay. And it's a great one to have.
The Two Oceans.
Yeah.
I'll get it.
Yeah.
Have to.
It's that book over there.
Okay. Only for sale at Veld and Sea for 99.50 Rand.
Actually,
written by Roushanna Gray and her husband Tom. So were you always Roushanna Gray, nature lady, connected to nature in such a way that you are who you are today? Is that your background from a family influence?
Not really, actually. Okay. I have more of a food background, okay. And it wasn't until I moved out here to the deep south of Cape Point, where I really was privileged enough to be able to slow down enough to learn about the flavors from the land and to be able to return back to the same spaces over and over again throughout the seasons and to really understand the flavors, whether it was from the ocean or from the mountains or from the forests.
So you're actually from Pretoria?
Born and bred in Cape Town, okay. But in the suburbs. So,
okay, yeah, so you were in the burbs.
So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I was hoping you'd say you were born in Brakpan or something, because that would have really pushed the envelope. Anything else, Georgie? You seem to have quite a few little nuggets there.
But in terms of my family doing it, definitely on both sides of my family, there's fishermen and avid ocean folk, watermen and waterwomen. So that's very much in my blood. Collecting mushrooms, I learned from my family as well. Collecting mussels and things like that. But it wasn't until I moved here that I learned about the edible plants locally. And it wasn't until a Japanese cyclist who was traveling around the world landed. Story. Yeah. His name is Hiromo Jimbo. Okay. And he was traveling all around the world. He zigzagged his way down Africa. And he ended up staying here on this property for about 3 months. And he would supplement his camping food diet with seaweeds from the local beach. Oh, wow. And so, me being a curious foodie, I wanted to know everything that he was doing. Yes. And so I went down with him to the rock pools. And we looked over the intertidal zone on a spring tide when that magical slice of intertidal zone is exposed. And he said, "Why is nobody eating these sea vegetables?" And that was it. I had to know more, and so that was how my journey into seaweeds really started.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible how something like that could happen. Thank you. Arigato. Yeah. Anything else you want to chat about? I mean, we've told everyone where to go to join up. It's where else can they book besides your website? Or where can they find more information? Is
Instagram.
Yes, Instagram. Well, this is going on Instagram, so it's going to go on Instagram and follow Veld and Sea on Instagram.
Yeah.
Everything.
In the link in the Veld and Sea bio, there's all the
links in the bio if you want to book and all the upcoming events.
And it's not only foraging.
Okay.
We also do talks and workshops with outside teachers. And the subjects are very much around sustainability and food and nature, ecology.
Amazing.
And we also have pop-up dinners with visiting chefs that we collaborate with, and our own chefs here that we have, seasonal inspired pop-up dinners.
Do you ever have any of, on that note, from a cuisine point of view, do you ever have any like top chefs from wherever like approach you and say, how would I?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any examples of any?
Well, I've given wild flavor consultations to many restaurants and also the drinks industry here. Yes. Worked with a lot of alcohol brands and.
I'm sure, especially gin. And
exactly.
A lot of botanicals.
Yes. And we've also had a lot of kitchen teams coming here to do team builds.
Oh, wow.
So that's been really fun for us, having like some of the top restaurants coming here to cook, basically for us.
That's nice. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's a treat. It's such a joy to see how chefs that are top of their field and top of their game and how they use these flavors and how they use these ingredients. So it's lovely.
Is there anything visible? Like would you look at a bunch of kelp and go, oh, this isn't the right color, or it's reacting differently to?
No, well, when it comes to pollutants,
yes,
there's not actually anything besides smell. If the ocean stinks, obviously don't go in it.
Yes.
Don't eat from it.
No.
But in terms of a buildup of pollutants, the way that seaweeds work is they have a non-vascular, I'm going to get a bit dorky here.
That's fine.
They have a non-vascular system where their roots or their holdfast is just a little anchor that anchors themselves to the ocean bed or to a rock.
Yep.
They don't get any nutrients from it.
They don't feed,
But they will absorb everything that's in the ocean around them. So if there's pollutants or heavy metals or anything in the ocean, there will be presence in the seaweed.
Gotcha.
And it's not something that you can pick up by taste or smell or sight. It's just a bioaccumulation that happens in your body.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's just very important to be aware of the ocean conditions before you're collecting.
Got you.
So definitely don't go coastal foraging in places like Sea Point or Muizenberg or Camps Bay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Sure. And how deep will you dive when you do a free dive? We're talking sort of 10 meters?
It all
5
depends.
meters?
It all depends on the participants' abilities, yeah. But a lot of the ingredients they're quite shallow, so 5 meters.
Okay.
You can snorkel them out if you want.
That's cool. To a lot of people watching and to a lot of the audience, this is probably going to sound like, wow, this is opening my eyes, because I don't go to the supermarket and go to the fresh produce and buy a bunch of kelp or buy a bunch of fresh herbs from the mountain, wild herbs. So for a lot of people, it's going to be like, wow, this is quite new and cool. But in actual fact, it's a big circle, because mankind has been foraging and eating from the earth in a sustainable way for thousands of years. Yeah. You're just breaking the norms of what we know as a Western tradition, right?
Yeah, reintroducing forgotten foods.
Yeah,
and it was definitely once a part of all of our diets, but sometimes the knowledge gets lost along the way. So it's important to bring it back, but with sustainability in mind, because we now live in a different way. Yeah,
definitely. We've got to change the way in which and there is a focus towards that, like eating more organic, but this is taking it to the next step.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of people say that like to be healthy these days is actually quite expensive.
Yes.
To eat organic, to buy the ethically farmed or whatever produce, it's more expensive. But your way of living is actually you're going out yourself.
Your only expense is time.
That's it.
Yeah.
But nature gives to you freely
Exactly.
if you know where to look and you're willing to experience and explore new flavors. Because
Yeah.
I suppose that also comes with it, right?
Definitely. It's exciting for anybody who's a foodie or who's really into cooking. These interesting new flavors or old flavors
Yes.
are a joy to work with in the kitchen. And anybody who is an avid cook knows that the shorter the distance from your source of food to your plate, the better it tastes.
Umami.
You want to use every single bit that you've used, that you've picked, you know. Yeah, it's
Awesome.
exciting. And I mean, a lot of people who come on our experiences and our workshops, they might not all of a sudden become avid foragers and go foraging for their food every day afterwards, but they will never walk in those rock pools in the same way again.
That's a cool thing. Yeah, you'll look at things through new eyes.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah.
That's rad. Every reason to come on Roushanna Gray's. Sign up now.
And what a cool excuse to go surfing for your supper.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
Honey, grab a surf, but make sure you pick up some kelp along the way. Just not the ones floating out at backline.
Yeah. Could be that one seaweed
That's
that
it.
you can't eat.
Out of the however many hundred?
900.
900 different species
900.
of kelp and seaweed in our oceans in southern Africa, but only one that you shouldn't eat.
If you want to know which one it is, come on a coastal forage.
Or Google it.
It's called acid weed.
Acid weed.
Don't Google image search
Yes.
acid weed Cape Town.
It's got nothing to do with coastal raves either. So it's just got very high sulfuric acid,
Yeah.
which will burn the living daylights out of your tract.
Not for eating.
No.
Yeah.
And also, if you go to the toilet next day, I dare say it's going to be a painful experience. Roushanna, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for hosting us and for giving us a short little sort of concise insight into your way of life and the cool things that you're doing.
Pleasure.
Wavescape appreciates you and support Roushanna and Veld and Sea and Sea.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Friend.